Okay. Yeah. So exception handling we started. And understood what is try except. So generally there are two types of errors. So one is a compilation error. So there are two types of errors. One is compilation error. And second one, runtime errors. So the compilation errors, we know at the time of compilation we'll get. So generally, example, if you see like syntax errors, like indentation errors. So this all it comes under compilation error. So let me just create a file here, script file. See, for example, if I write print and then double quotes. See, since I'm using PyCharm, it is giving by default double quotes ends. But assume double quotes started here, not closed. This is a syntax error. So I told that this is a human error. So this is our responsibility. We should fix it. So as a programmer, we should fix these errors, right? Because this is a human error. And similarly, like for example, if I write print by, so it's indentation now. So indentation error. So we should know indentation how to write. So these are compilation errors. So these errors generally we cannot handle using with the exception handling. Only runtime errors we can handle. So what is runtime error? For example, in the last session also we discussed, I'm taking something number, or let me copy that. So I'm taking two numbers and performing some result equal to x division of y. Print result. So there is no syntax error, means there is no compilation error here. And when we run the code, so we can see we are getting some result. again, if I run the code here, like for example, you can see the output. And again, I'm just running the code like this with a 0. So this is not actually the syntax error. Even if you are using your own calculator here, see, I'm just using calculator. 10 division 2, there is output. 10 division of 0. Here also you'll get the same result, cannot divide by 0. So because that is not possible, cannot divide by 0, that is a mathematical rule. But it's not a syntax error basically, right? So same thing here we are getting zero division error. So this is a runtime. So it's not a compilation error. So there are different runtime errors. Can you tell me some of the runtime errors? What do you observe? I want just runtime errors. What you observed? What are the runtime errors you actually understood? Type error, okay. What else? So now we saw that zero division error, okay. Type error, then name error. Yeah, file not found error. Some module error means module not found error. We'll also get module not found error. So see in the list and dictionaries, we actually discussed, right? So in the list and dictionaries, if you see, you tell me what errors we'll get in list. For example, x equal to 10, comma 20, comma 30. But I'm trying to access x of 10. Is it possible? Not possible. What is this? Index error. So there is a, again, runtime error. So index error. There is an index error. So index error. And then what else? Like if you are using this as a dictionary and key colon value, for example, see 1 colon 10, 2 colon 20, 3 colon 30. So I'm treating this as a dictionary and x of 1 or x of 11 I am using. So but this key not exist. What is this key error? Right? Key error. So there are different types of errors like this. These are runtime errors. So we can check DAR of built-ins to get all the compilation and runtime errors. So whenever if you get these runtime errors, it is stopping the execution abnormally. So wherever if runtime errors occurs, for example, assume we have a 10 lines of code. Somewhere here, if we get error, runtime error, it will immediately stop the execution here. It will terminate from here. That means that is generally we call it as a abnormal termination. So it will not go, the remaining lines, it will not go and execute this. But what is actually here we are trying to understand, I don't want to stop this line's execution even if we get the error. So how to skip this? Or if we get error, display some user message, something like user understandable message, and then go and continue the execution. So the exception handling here we are using, the purpose of exception handling is to stop, instead of stopping the execution, instead of stopping the execution or instead of stopping the continuation of the program, it will give some message here, maybe with except block, and then the continuation of the program, it will go and execute. So that is the reason we are writing here. Okay. So I hope this is clear now. So based on that only, so the first one we actually discussed here, this is a try and except block. So try and except block. First we try the code in the try block. If something goes wrong here, except block will execute and continuation of the program also it will execute. So for that we discuss this here. So this is my code here. So we observed that the result line we are getting issue in case if a y value is 0. So I'm just writing here try block. In the try block, print these two lines, means execute these two lines. If something problem here, just execute except block, and then I'm writing like something went wrong. So what is that something? We don't know, but just I'm writing like this. We will see how to handle that. So now something went wrong and then execute here. For example, 10, and then I'm just giving 0. Now continuation of the program is executing, but here just it is printing something went wrong. Let's say this exception as something E, I'm giving like this, and then I'm trying to print that E. Let me rerun again here, 10, 0. Now if you observe, this is our message, something went wrong. And what exactly the error is? Division by 0. This is Python is giving. So what I did here, I mentioned that exception. What is the exception? I want to print that exception also here. I want to print that exception. What is that error actually? So that maybe whenever if someone is providing the value, the second value here 0, they'll understand here what is the issue. So something went wrong. That this is just one random message we provided since we don't know what is the problem. And then here it is clearly giving what is the issue, division by 0, not possible action. So that if you want to get that error, you can write the combination like this, except of exception as E, and then we provide that E here. Okay, so we got that problem is okay, division with 0. So now we can also write here something try with the multiple except blocks. So try with the multiple except blocks. So how we can write this try with multiple except blocks? So try block here. And then except of exception name. If you know the exception name, you can write the exception name. And then based on that exception name, you can provide some message. So what is the exception name? So based on that exception name, you can provide the message. Similar way, the exception name here, what is the exception name? What is the exception name? Okay, you can write like this. Finally, this except again, you can write like a optional, this except block like else part. So I'm not writing any exception name here and then continuation of the program. So this is try with multiple except blocks. For example, in the try block, if something failed, what exactly the problem? If that problem matches here in this exception one, exception name one, and then these statements will execute, it will go directly continuation of the program. Let's say try block failed for some reason, but this exception name not matched. This exception name not matched, but here this exception matched. And this statements it executes, it will go continuation of the program. So again here, what is the purpose of these multiple exceptions? We are actually trying to provide to the end user what exactly the problem here. Instead of just giving something went wrong, we are giving the proper message. Okay, this is the reason here actually it is trying to skip the execution. Anyway, it will not skip now since we are writing this, but we are providing that specific reason so that the next time whenever if user is providing some values, they'll understand that. Okay, so now let's say if try block failed but not matched any exception, then simply if not matched any exception name, simply this except block will execute now. Again, something went wrong. So let's see here. For example, see. Okay, so I'm just trying to copy same example. And I am trying to write except of zero division error. See, this name should be proper name. That means, let's say, for example, if I go to the interactive mode, if I write something 3 division of 0, it is giving zero division error. So the name, it's a case sensitive, right? So should be same name. You cannot write something like, all lowercase like zero division error. No, this is not accepted. So should be same name. If it is not giving here the name when you write, you need to copy like this. This one you need to copy. Just copy it and then paste here. But this editor, it understands that, right? Error message. So when I type 0, automatically it is coming. See, when I type 0, automatically it is coming and saying that there is a one error. And I'm writing now print maybe you can write the denominator value should not be 0, or both input values should be, okay, this is both input, not both. We are only concentrating on second value now for zero division error. So second value should not be 0, or denominator value should not be 0. Maybe I'm writing like the second value should not be 0. Let me rerun again. So I'm just writing 4 and then 0. Simply it is executing here. Because of zero division error, second value should not be 0. And then by. Now what it executed? It executed this particular except block. So how it knows this is a zero division error? That is what actually the error, right? So the error because of 0, it actually provided. And then we already mentioned that, okay, in case if it is a zero division error, print this message to the user so that that end user may understand. So who are executing the script, they understand. And don't stop the continuation of the program. Are you following? Just type C in the chat box if you are following. So now here, for example, see, when I execute the code again, I'm just giving 10 and then I'm giving ABC. Now we got a value error. But the problem from where? The problem is here outside the try block. So in this line, when I enter the value, ABC I provided, but we are trying to convert as integer. So it is giving a value error. So this is a runtime error again. What is this error? Invalid literal invalid literal for int with the base 10 ABC. Okay, so this time what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to write even these lines also inside the try block. Same code again. But I'm going to write even these two lines inside the try block. So when I provide inside the try block, and then when I'm executing here, right? Let's say, for example, 10 ABC, immediately, now it's not a zero division error. It's not a zero division error. So the zero division error not executed here. And then this is a default one, right? Exception. So except block is executed. So what is this except block now? The exception as E. We mentioned that because we should know what is the error message. So now it is giving that something went wrong. This is our message. And then Python is saying invalid literal for int with base 10 ABC. So whenever this is something invalid literal for int with base 10, we observed this is coming because of what? Because of the input value we are actually trying to convert as a integer, but we provided a string value. So let's say int of input of enter a number. So we are actually trying to convert this value as an integer. Let's say let's say for example here I'm giving hi. This is a string value, not able to convert as an integer. It's a value error. So what I'm trying to do now, so I'm going to write one more except block saying that value error, if in case value error, I want to say print both input values should be int type. So one more I have added now, both input values should be what? Int type. So 10 I'm giving, ABC I'm giving here. Now you can see it is simply saying both input values should be int type and then by. Again I'm executing 10 and 0. Now you can see second value should not be 0 by. So it is not giving same message every time. Depending on what error and then that particular block is handling here. You're getting my point. So this is how the try and multiple except blocks we write. So there are a lot of things here. So I'm just giving idea how we can write it. So for me, for my regular trainings, only exception handling itself, minimum 3 to 5 sessions it will take. So there are a lot of things again. Let's say if except block failed, what happens? We just think that, okay, if except block failed, maybe some issue in the except block here. And then where it will go to that execution. And try block partially okay. Let's say, for example, try block here, it is correct. Maybe by mistake, I have something like this here. So what happens now? For example, see, I'm actually giving some value 10 and 2. If you see output, we are getting 5. Also, because of this A variable, the variable not defined, so it is executing except log, saying that something went wrong. A is not defined. So try block partially executed now, and something went wrong here. Now this except block is handling. But assume this except block also having some error. What happens? So there are multiple other things as well here. So you should know that, right? So we are only just focusing on how we are writing these try except blocks, try with multiple except blocks like that. And we do have try with except blocks and finally combination. So let's say I'm just using same thing. There is a third syntax here. Third one is try with the multiple except block. It can be one also. And finally. So finally is more important whenever if you are using database connections. Like if you are connecting to the database, we must need to close the connection. So that connection closing part we write in the finally block. Or let's say you are actually installing some packages. Assume that you are running this code for some package installation, maybe in Linux like that. So the package installation part completed, or some software installation, you are installing something, let's say, using with this Python code. You are actually trying to install on 100 servers some patch upgradations. Along with that, maybe you are installing something, 3 different packages you are installing. Let's say you are installing something Java, and also you are installing something MySQL, and along with this you are installing some specific software. So when you install some softwares, it will generate some temp files in the TMP. So once this process is completed, if some TMP files not deleted, the finally block actually what cleanup process. So finally block is something cleaning up in the temp folder. So if it is you are connecting to the database, it's like database connection closing. If you're writing the code for something installation related, like as I told just now, and this will be for cleaning purpose. But depending on what code we are writing. But finally block is more and more important. Many times if you want to do something like especially database connection closes like that. Okay, for example, see, let me let me explain based on file handling. So the file object equal to open of some file name here. Let's say test1.txt. It is available already. If it is available, and then I want to print this text. So print f4.read I'm using. Okay. So this is the text it is printing now. For example, if this file is not available, 101 I am writing. File not found error. This error. So I'm trying to write in the try block. Maybe the chances are more if maybe file not available. So if file not available, so I want to just execute except block something file not found error. It should be same name, I told that. And then we can write that file not available. Not exist. Also, I'm just writing this in case other than this, if something goes wrong, then I want to print something went wrong. So let me rerun again. Now you can see the given file name not exist. The given file name not exist. Let me write continuation of the program as. So if file is available, let's say test1.txt, there is no problem. File is open and then continuation of the program it executed. Now what I want to do, I want to write finally. If file is open, then only I want to close this file object. You cannot simply write like this f4.close. The reason is maybe if file is not available 101, see still test101.txt and it is f4.close, it is trying to close, but this file not opened actually. So this file not opened and it is giving error message saying that FO is not defined. So once the file is exists, then only the file object will create. Otherwise, it will not generate any file object. Means that variable name itself not creating now. Okay, so the variable name itself not creating now. Can you hear me? Okay. So if that variable name not creating, and even if you write this much of code, it is giving simply error. What is the solution? So you may think that, okay, why finally block? We can directly, you can directly write this f4.close also, right? Then what is the use of this finally block? You can directly close like this, f4.close, like a continuation of the program. If file is exist, it opened the file, and then this file object is closing here. Let's see this. I'm trying to write something. F4 is closing. It executed. Then why finally block is required? So the finally block is required. Try to understand this. This is more and more important in entire exception handling concept. So as I told that, like, okay, you are connecting to the database, and connection it happened. Okay. So means the connectioning, like connecting to the database part is successfully completed. But after that, maybe executing the query is not properly executed. Connection part is okay, but executing the SQL query is not executed properly. Maybe there is a wrong. There is some runtime error. So in that case, first connection it already happened, and then it comes to the some exception part, and it will execute that exception part, and it will go continuation of the program, and it will try to close this object. This is fine now. But when it goes to the exception block, assume that exception block also having some error. Now what happens? Continuation of the program not executes. So now if you see here, for example, I am just trying to open the file, and if file is exist, it is trying to read the data, and then assume by mistake here I have something variable name A. There is a name error. See, something went wrong. Name A is not defined. So means this code in the try block till here it executed successfully, but there is error here. And this, because of that error, this except block is executing now. Of course, now continuation of the program also executing. Now the problem is, let's say I'm writing something print X here. So this variable not available now. Let me rerun now again. There is a lot of chances like that, right? So something went wrong, A is not defined. And what is X value here? So for that, if you see, it is giving some error message saying name error, name X is not defined. So when it is giving the error, it is not going to the continuation of the program. Nowhere I can see that FO is closing. there is no FO is closing statement. Because here if you get error, continuation of the program not executes. But if you apply the same thing for databases, database connected and some issue while executing query and it raised exception, except block also having some issue. Now continuation of the program not executing, which means what? The database connection not closing. But if you write here this same thing in finally block, no matter where the problem is, whether it is in exception block or whether it is in try block, the finally block must executes all the times. Now there is a problem at except block, but still see this, there is a name error, right? Name error. But if you go and check here, see this finally block is executing. Even try block fails, even except block fails, finally block must executes. But continuation of the program not executes if you see, like, if you write, if you have some issue in the except blocks. So that this is how actually we actually write finally block. Finally block is mandatory sometimes whenever if you are connecting to the database. So what we can do here, we can write something like this, none value. So I created FO equal to none. Let's say if in case if FO, the file object is created here with the file open. If in case file open, then FO will be what? The file object it creates. None will replace with this. So whenever if NONE, that is a null value, if it is replacing with this, if FO, see, if FO not equal to none, then only I want to close this object. Otherwise, I don't need to close. So now FO value none, it is replaced already with what file object, and then now it is closing. So I want to write this statement here to understand. If you want, you can write for our understanding, I mean, finally block. So let's see here. So we got error, but still you can see I'm in finally block. FO is closing because file object it opened actually. But let's say, for example, I'm trying to write this is something 101. This file is not exist. See, the given file not name not exist. That is the file not found error. Here itself we got error. It's not coming to this A. So file not found error. And it went to the finally block also. See, it went to the finally block, but finally block this particular piece of code not executed now because FO value still it is none. So FO is not closing now. So why it need to close? If it is trying to close now, what happens? It will give you error message saying that FO name error. But of course we define FO value none. Okay. So we are smartly handling this. We are just writing FO value none, and then if it is opened, okay, it replaces that none with the file object. If it is replaced, then only close it. Otherwise, just ignore. So this is how now here. So 101 instead of that 1. And let me comment this line and just run it again. You can see this file is using for understanding, which means the file is file open, and then it went to the finally block. FO is closing, and then continuation of the program also exit. So this is the try and except blocks, exception handling concepts. I hope this is clear now. Okay. So let me stop this then. That's all for today. Thank you all then. Have a great day.